You can't have two masters. And what I think the key in that is that so many people will work for wealth or work just for money, just to pay the bills. And what that really is, it says, well, who are you serving? You're really just serving money. And you need to flip that role with money. Money should be working for you. And you have to master it.
I'm Kevin Attride, and I'm on a mission to help you with investing secrets, empowering you to succeed financially, changing your financial perspective and growing your wealth in good times and in bad. And when the next crisis comes, those prepared to weather the storm will achieve great success while the world melts with fear.
Investing Secrets with Kevin Attride.
Today, I'm really excited to have Nathan Webb join us. Nathan is a real estate professional, a 1031 exchange expert with American Accommodators, and he's just an amazing guy. He's helped me and my family on a number of occasions. So, Nathan, thank you for joining us today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Nathan, just tell us a little bit more about yourself, your experience, your credentials, everything in between.
Well, I'd love to say that I have all these fancy titles, but really I just have a long list of very crazy experience that has kind of led me to where I am today. I actually grew up in real estate, but on the construction side with my father, working with him, building houses and commercial properties since I was 14, really just helping out. But very familiar with the construction site, doesn't bother me. Said, I don't want to do this. So I went and got a computer science degree at university and said, well, I kind of liked running and moving around. And so said, well, I'll just go do something else. So I went and drilled for oil and gas in the West Texas and the oil fields of Oklahoma, and did that for a while. And then went overseas on an adventure and did some ministry and helped out with some refugee issues, and then built businesses out of that and did real estate overseas and just kind of built businesses overseas. And then having come back from that, it was really just fell in love with real estate and poured everything into it, which is what has got me kind of where I am today, where I've been spending the last 5 years doing a lot of exchanges in commercial real estate and helping people acquire and also exchange into the right real estate for whatever their needs are, and advising on those tax-deferred exchanges.
Today's episode has been made possible by our presenting sponsors, Wellings Capital, build wealth by investing in diversified, recession-resistant commercial real estate. Smeed CPA, the next frontier CPA firm for strategic investors. And Living Wealth, bank on yourself with private family financing.
I'm interested to hear from your perspective on what is it that people should think about, even during times that can be challenging economically, like today. What are the practical tips or the secrets of investing that you'd like to tell our audience?
Man, if there's any secret, it's probably just to be consistent and to stick with what you know, because everything's going to have its upside and downside. It's good times, it's bad times. Real estate, most people know what happened in 2007, 8, 9, and the consequences that happened in real estate. But that was also, for those that knew, some of the best times to be buying, and especially if you knew the ways to buy during that down market. But I would say, to generalize a little bit more, stick with what you know. If you can get specialized in something, like for me, 1031 exchanges, it's become a specialty. Really pour into yourself and in your own growth and understanding, and pour, if you can build a business out of it, invest in that business. In downtimes, cash flow is king, and business is a great way to bring in cash flow, and then invest in what you know with the abundance.
Okay, that's really helpful. So keep going. What other practical things do people need to know to build their wealth or to even gain experience?
If you're just looking to grow wealth, it's in real estate. We have, very simple. What is the property worth? We can do those calculations. Most people can do it in their head who've been in the business for a while, or use a spreadsheet. But there are really only two ways to make money in real estate, and that is to increase the income of the property and decrease the expenses. That is becomes your net operating income or profit or margin that the property is actually making, your cash flow. You can try to bet on appreciation, but I would always look at appreciation as a bonus, and I would focus on does this make me money by holding it and operating it well. And so if you're focused on those two things in real estate or your business or your own life, even if it's just managing your own household, is there a way that you can make more money from your job and reduce the expenses that you have at home? How often you're going out to eat. And I'm not saying like, oh, don't, you should never buy coffee at Starbucks ever again, because if you do that, then you'll save this much money. Maybe those sacrifices need to be made. And I'm not trying to say you should really tighten up your belt, but you should focus on both. Really, is there excess spending that you can really save on? You're going to have expenses. You can't go to zero. But what can you do to increase, what you can produce as an individual? As a team, and where can you save and still maintain your lifestyle in a way that's appropriate? So looking at that, and then also, if you're really diving into the investing, so you've kind of got your income and expenses situated right, and you're putting away some savings. What are you taking those savings and doing with it? Are you investing in the things that or are you just throwing them somewhere, where you're hoping that it will increase? And for me, it's really about, hey, I know what I know, and I'm gonna invest in those things. I like real assets, so I like real estate. I like gold and silver. I like oil and gas commodities. I think that those are things that I know. My life has kind of led me into those things. And so those are things that I continue to just watch regularly and invest in. I have family members that work for large tech companies that I could also invest in. And that's just not something that I'm involved in on the regular. I'm involved in real estate, and I'm involved in, the oil and gas community and what that looks like. And so I invest in those things.
So go deeper into, earlier you mentioned being consistent. You talked about real assets. How does someone learn how to be consistent, and also why real assets? Why tangible assets? Why are you focusing on those?
I think, as you mentioned, we're getting into uncertain economic times, and you can't eat Bitcoin, unfortunately. Is it a sound investment? That's up to someone else besides me. That's up for you to decide. Maybe you have a better understanding of it than I do. But for me, it's like I'm flesh and blood. I need a roof over my head to shelter me from the elements. Other people do as well, and they will pay for that shelter. Businesses need something to operate out of, and they have certain specific needs. So again, real estate, very tangible, something that I can actually have an effect on. Right? I can go work for Tesla, Facebook, Google, and I still won't have an effect on the stock price of those companies, no matter how hard I work. But I can improve my property. I can put money into it to make it better, to increase the rents, or to get it set up for the right tenant so that they'll pay the rent that they want and lock into a solid lease for many years. And it makes very solid sense for just the cash flow, right? So it's tangible in that sense. Is Google real and Facebook real? Yes, absolutely, but it's so much less tangible, right? And then commodities are something that are real. It's gasoline that you put in your tank, that gets you from point A to point B, that people have to ship from coast to coast using these fuels. Whether you're looking at food commodities or energy commodities, these are things that have a real effect on daily life. And even if you're looking at gold and silver, I just look at them as something that can't really go to zero. There's always going to be a need and a demand for them. But there's been plenty of tech companies out there that have completely disappeared, and those commodities have not. They've gone up in price, they've gone down in price. And because I've just familiarized myself with them and been around them for so long, I kind of know where prices should be. And if it's cheaper, hey, maybe it's time to buy more. And if it's more expensive, maybe it's time to sell some more. But just kind of keeping it's things I've been involved in and things that I know, not from a deep economic understanding, but just from real life experience. And again, real assets that are always going to be around.
That's really helpful. How does one gain experience or learn so that they can be consistent and actually have some sort of knowledge in that area?
It's really one of those things where, we can read a ton of material. We can watch all the videos in the world that are great content creators out there providing great educational content. But when you're in something regularly, daily, you learn something about it that you wouldn't learn otherwise, that would take so much more time and deeper understanding. And you could still get wrong if you're just looking at the books, right? Some of it's very intuitive. That only comes from that experience. If it's real estate, for example, I would say, well, what exactly in real estate are you interested in? And then what, are your particular strengths? Are you more organized? Are you are you more of a salesman or saleswoman that, really excels at just talking to people and figuring out deals and problem solving that way? Or are you super organized and detailed? Because there are so many different positions and jobs in real estate. Being a 1031 exchange accommodator is a very small part of real estate with a very specific section of the tax code that I've just kind of poured into and have gained further and further and further understanding in as I've performed more and more and more with some real experts beside me to, guide me through, who've been doing this for 20 and 30 years that I can always ask questions to and who are always ready to educate. And so I do think that experience and surrounding yourself with the right people for what you are gifted in or really want to do in the area you want to do it is a big key.
What other practical tips, what other secrets can you impart for us?
For me, I think, people would say, oh, it's hard work. It's putting in a lot of hours. But it comes more from a place of willpower and passion. If you're not passionate about something, why are you doing it? And I also think that I'm not doing this because, I'm passionate about making money. Making money is going to be a byproduct of anything that you do or should do that's being productive, right? And money is such an arbitrary thing anyway. It's, it used to be pieces of paper and now it's, numbers with more numbers in an account. It's, how many people actually transact in actual paper dollar bills anymore. And they're all just, tapping their card or, making a wire transfer. And it seems so arbitrary, right? But if you're passionate about something and you have the willpower to stick with it, I think that learning to master that money will come along with that. But that's also the mindset that you have to have. We hear that the love of money is the root of all evil. And you also hear that you cannot serve both God and wealth, because you can't have two masters. And what I think the key in that is that so many people will work for wealth or work just for money, just to pay the bills. And what that really is, it says, well, who are you serving? And you're working so hard and spending all this time making money because you feel that you have to pay. You're really just serving money. And you need to flip that role with money. Money should be working for you. And you have to master it. You have to master what it actually is and the effect that it has on you and how you spend it. Yes, it can buy you all these nice and wonderful things, the new car, the new house, right? But are you making your money work for you, or are you working for the money because you want the things or you need to have the bills? Like, it all kind of feeds back into, bring in more if you need to, reduce your expenses, and put that excess to work for you so that you are the master over that money and it is not master over you in any degree. And that's not a love of money. That's a mastery of money, right? Because it's serving you and you're loving yourself is really what you're doing. That's a secret. There's your secret right there.
Whether early on or very experienced, what type of guidance do you have for people on that money mastery as it relates to investing of, tangible assets, finding their passion?
I can kind of share where I've come from and where I'm going, and basically the steps that I've gone through. I went and started another business, and I went and found other partners to do the 1031 exchange with, and really push that. And that's something that I'm taking all of that back knowledge, and I'm taking some of the money that I was able to gain and save from that, from mastering my own financial situation, to then turn it over and grow it again. And from that excess, I'm saying, well, where can I put some of these savings that are going to generate a return, or that, I'm not going to miss this $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 that I've got saved up. Like, I don't need it for my business. I don't need it for my life. It's true savings. Where am I going to put that, that can either A, generate me some additional income, or B, something that's going to be a real store of value? And for some people, I think that's probably stocks. They probably understand them better than me. For me, it was like, hey, I thought gold and silver was cheap at a particular time, and so I bought some. And I've gotten a positive return on that over the years. Found a great piece of real estate that, we were able to buy early on. I'm always looking at real estate around me. I'm involved in it every day. I'm not only looking for deals for myself, but for a larger company. I'm also helping others get into, real estate deals for themselves. And I'm seeing what works out and what doesn't, and just continuing to add that and then take action based on what I'm seeing. I really think that you have to get involved yourself. And sometimes that means getting involved with partners. And sometimes that means, taking like an initial, hey, can I be kind of a student and an investor? Taking a little bit of a risk, but one where you can really learn. I think those are the real tangible things that you want to take away. I think just throwing money into, not to say anything against a 401k or an IRA or anything like that, but just throwing that into that and having someone else, hey, it's going to go here, without learning about it yourself. I think it's kind of a cop-out. I think it's you not having the discipline or willpower to say, like, I'm going to master my money. I'm going to say that someone else is the master, and I'm just going to give it to them. And they may not be a master of money, and that's going to be on an individual level for everybody. You have to master your own money.
Knowing that this is not individualized guidance, this is education, what guidance, what suggestions are you providing for your friends, your family members, or even your clients?
I love saving people money on taxes, because that's more money in your pocket. Ultimately, that's more money that you get to turn around and reinvest. And so you doing that correctly is what really is a passion of mine, and saving people that equity. And when I get to see, man, I probably saved them $100,000 that they got to reinvest. I got to save them even more than that they're reinvesting and making even more cash flow on. That's something I'm really passionate about. When it comes to,
in times of turmoil, guidance from successful investors and the wealthy is critical for your success. Subscribe to our premium content to ensure you are well equipped for the growing crisis. Contact Nathan Webb for your 1031 exchange needs and his team of experts at American Accommodators by clicking the link below for your VIP connection. There are more investing secrets that are quite powerful for you to build your wealth. If you'd like a VIP introduction to any one of our experts, click on the link below. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single tip from any of our seasoned experts. Okay, watch the next video so you can capture our next secrets to investing. If you're ready, it's time for you to experience financial freedom.
The information contained in this episode are opinions not to be used as individual guidance. As always, consult your own financial team for your investment decisions.